Hey everyone, how's it going? I just wanted to come on here real quickly before the episode actually starts just to apologize for the audio for this episode. For some reason, StreamYard was recording with my iMac microphone, so it sounds like really echoey. I tried my best to fix the audio like in post, but this is the best that I could do. It will be fixed in the next episode where we'll be talking about Yojimbo. But other than that, please enjoy this episode where I talk with Kale Smith from the Youth Critic Podcast about the 1953 film Ugetsu. Enjoy the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Real Lovers Podcast, the only podcast on the internet that is watching all of the movies in the Letterboxd Top 250. At least for right now, the ones that are not struck. And today on the podcast, I am joined by the host of the Youth Critic Podcast, Movie Kale. Kale Smith.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
It's been a while since you've been on. The last time we had you on covering a Letterboxd Top 250 movie, it was Umberto D, another depressing and just uplifting movie.
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say you say depressing, but like I was so like thrilled. I was so happy. I was like, oh, this is like the greatest. Oh my, this is like a spa day for my brain.
Right. And today we are going to be talking about Ugetsu, the 1953 Japanese film directed by Kenji Mizoguchi. But before we get into that, I have something like the strikes are still going on. The whole reason why we started doing this series again is because Ugetsu is a non-struck film. And the strikes have been going on for about 100 days, 2 months now for SAG-AFTRA. And Kale, I just want to get your thoughts on just everything that's going on, just because it seems like every single time the AMTP is basically negotiating with the Writers Guild of America, and then SAG-AFTRA, it just seems like nothing is coming out of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's like the thing. It's almost like parody at this point. Like the things that have been emailed, the things that have been leaked out. I mean, the stuff that really has come out about from from really from the studio side of things. It's just so like, and then it's so like like so greedy. It's so selfish. It's so incredibly like, and I hope but also expected like. And what I hope is that this kind of opens more and more eyes to the industry at large, that no, no, like it's not they care about the consumer base, or it's not that they care about like the quality of films. They just care about making money. Like they just care about getting your money. And that's to me like what is like the baseline of all this is how, and that's the reason why we have to have strikes, is because if we withhold from content making, not to say that stuff like the creator or stuff like Dune Part 2 is content, but in the larger scheme of things it is.
Uh-oh. Did you freeze? Hold on.
The way I look at it is like, us withholding our content, it gives us like the agency to basically negotiate a deal to get the things that we need, and also stop AI from either get paid for AI to use for AI usage, or we stop it altogether. Like it to me, like that's what the main principles are. We got to, like, that's the reason why we have to have these strikes. We're just like at this moment of time where we have to hold our footing as much as they are holding theirs, if not more. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the news. It just gets more and more parody, and then it just and I'm more and more proud of the guilds and the unions for for holding their stance.
Yeah, and it's super important to just show your solidarity and just Like even with to kind of like pivot into like our news topic a little bit, there's been a bunch of movie delays, and a lot of people are upset about like Dune Part 2 getting delayed and Challengers getting delayed. Movies that people are like actually looking forward to. And I see a lot of discourse like online, like talking about like, hey, uh, these like these actors and writers, like they're millionaires. Like, why are they asking for like all this money? And it's like, in reality, a lot of the I think I think I said this on the last podcast. I usually bring it up every time we're talking about the strikes. Like I think it's the percentage is like more than 80% of people within the WGA or SAG-AFTRA can't afford health insurance, and that's like $23,000. So that's a stat right there that proves that none of these people are millionaires. Like just because you see Tom Cruise like driving a Maserati, I don't think he actually drives that car, but or someone like Aaron Sorkin like living in a mansion doesn't mean that is for everyone.
Well, in studios they've been using for a long time, like like they've been using stars and the clout of, hey, these people get paid like millions of dollars per blockbuster or per movie or whatever, and so it created this false perception that everyone in Hollywood, that works on these, movies, they get paid. Even indie films that are only like, $5 to $10 million a budget, everyone gets paid like, $1 million each. Like it created this entire false perception that everyone's under the, everyone's all in the umbrella of the 1%. When in reality, I mean, SAG after covers background extras, it covers people that just speak dialogue in the movie. It covers the one guy that shows up in your TV show that says the one, like he's the delivery, like the pizza delivery guy. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are the people that we're striking. That that I say we, but like the people that everyone's striking for, like including people in the 1%. So we're striking for all those actors to get the funding they need, or not the funding, the compensation they need
To live.
to live. Yeah, like it's not. Yeah, and also it's not like something you can. And acting's not something you can just do on the side, and still, have be a lawyer or an act, or like have like a decent other job on the side. Like no, it takes months of work to do. Like it takes like lots and lots of auditions. Like it takes all this, and then screenwriting on the is the same way. You will have your day job and then you'll write at night if you're not like someone like Aaron Sorkin or someone of like who gets paid enough frequently to write. Like you have to have one other job and then you have to write your other assignments. Like it's like having two full-time jobs,
Right.
And sometimes one of the full-time jobs you won't even get paid for because you haven't sold your script yet. So it's so in other words, like people make money, people need the money from residuals, people need money from this stuff, and yeah, I mean the studios can't afford it. Like the models, everything that has been shown to us, the public, of what SAG and WGA are asking for, like it's very feasible, but we live in a world where capitalism is reigns supreme, and we have to make the most. Everyone has to make the most amount of money, and to get and to admit like we have to keep paying people, for the thing the thing that makes us money is not, we don't want to admit that these people, like we don't want to give credence to that, and that's so bullish and so it's unwise.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that you just said. And the thing that I've kind of like come to terms like with the strikes continue to going on, and the studios kind of like studios basically just putting their foot down, saying like, hey, you can't have like your 1.8%, which would total out to be like $300 million or something like that of like their $2 billion net worth. I started kind of like thinking that this is just me theorizing of like what's going on. I started thinking that maybe like the streaming companies aren't really as successful as they are. Like when you see like the Netflix like top 10 or the Amazon Prime Video top 10, that is just kind of like a marketing campaign to like push the movies out that they want to push out. And those movies, when you look at the actual numbers, they don't reflect like what America is actually watching or the world is actually watching. And that if they actually came out with those numbers, their stock prices would tank. And that's why when you have like these writers saying like we used to get residuals for like TV because based on like a traditional like TV model, like your residual, I don't not completely knowledgeable on this, but you would earn money help for like when like a show would air on like a regular channel.
Reruns,
And like yeah, and like with streaming, like you sort of don't really you don't really have like that data, so the writers and actors are like where's that data, and like and the streamers are quote unquote say we don't have that, and I'm like in a way
Yes,
you
you
do. You do, but it's just I don't know. Everyone is just so obsessed with making money at this point. It's starting to just kill me and destroy me inside, and I don't know. It's just it's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah,
Well, the thing with streaming is they spend billions and billions and billions of dollars on like streaming rights alone for, you know, stuff like The Office, Friends, you know, all these
mm-hmm.
major sitcoms and now Suits of Netflix, not to bring the little known USA Network into it, but like it is
Mm-hmm.
so like you spend billions on it, and then you're spending $200 million on this project, and then you're spending all this money on other projects, when in reality nothing is getting you profit, nothing is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like there probably is like from Amazon, which Amazon and Disney can survive, like not like they can just keep funneling the money
Mm-hmm.
because like they have other things that'll keep them going, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But stuff like Netflix, where they've completely just thrown away their DVD rental distribution. It's like they
Isn't
are
it
all
ending this?
in.
We're recording this on September 1st, 2023. Isn't it ending this month actually?
Either this month or sometime later in the fall. So yeah, so I
Mm-hmm.
mean they're like I said, they're throwing it. They have no choice now but to be all in on the streaming.
Yeah.
So so yeah, I mean when you put it this way, yeah, and also we've learned that the streaming model hasn't worked, because in order for any of this to be profitable, even if you have millions and millions and millions of people subscribed, like you probably need to charge people almost how much you would charge, how much a cable company would charge someone to have like all the like hundreds of channels, like it that because like that's sort of like reality, like in order for it to be like maximize profit. But even then, in this kind of world, then people would have to choose, am I going to have Hulu or Netflix, so yeah, we're now kind of in this kerfuffle where when the strikes it when the strikes I say when if the strikes go our way, if they take the sheets, and for those who know, they know. Um, sorry, Marley. Um,
It's okay.
uh, so if it goes our way, we could see like HBO being like $30, or Netflix being $40. And it's not because oh, we now are paying them. No, it's because the studios themselves, they cannot let go of money. They
Mm-hmm.
cannot let go. They're going to take it out of our pockets in order to keep in order for us to watch Suits every day, or the White Lotus on HBO every day, the the crappy Star Wars shows that are on Disney Plus. So so that's why things are kind of like that's why things are going to be so interesting if they go. And I only say if just because I mean there's only because there's small there's always, because I, as much as I have hope, much more hope than I do ever, there's all, you can't always deny there's a slim chance this couldn't work, this could all
Well, I
fail.
think I'm not sure if I agree with you about like the streaming companies like raising the prices. I think what's probably going to happen is that we're just going to start seeing less content, because part of the issue that like like the writers and actors are actually striking is that the streaming companies like Amazon, Netflix wanted to push out so much content. They were buying up so much content. They're pushing it out there because you got to keep people on like their platform, and it didn't matter if it was good or bad. They just pushed it out there, just put all this money into it. And I think these streaming companies started to realize like you can't spend $150 million on like a mid-range like comedy. Like maybe putting something like that to theaters is probably better. I feel like the way films are going to be distributed is going to be a lot different, and we're probably going to see a lot less like movies and shows like pop up. Like we probably wouldn't see like an Ahsoka show or something like that, just because uh you these companies are like begging for people to like stay on like their platforms. So you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and that's yeah, and also, and that's a good, and maybe that's a good thing because quality over quantity, is to me like the better option. Like and
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason why like Marvel did Star Wars, and that's like the in Pixar, like that's the reason why they survived so long under Disney, is because they were only making like one or two movies a year, and now like Lucasfilm has to make 3 or 4 shows a year, Marvel has to make 3 or 4 shows and 3 or 4 movies,
Mm-hmm.
and then Pixar has to like come up with like shorts and whatnot so that their movies can still be just their movie can still be theatrically released.
Right.
So I mean, like, so there's like this excess of content, and it's not all going to be good. Like it's and most of it, and most of it is bad, like as we've seen.
Right. And no like hate to like the Ahsoka show. But I was just kind of using that as an example, just to like for like the streaming companies or companies like Disney or Netflix needing content as much as possible. And like in the traditional format, you wouldn't necessarily need that. You would still need. I hate using this word, but content. You would still need content. Patrick Williams made a really great like video about like classifying like films as content as not being correct, just because you wouldn't put someone like Steven Spielberg in the levels of like a content creator. But the way these studios are saying like, oh, we have so much content, they're kind of like they're basically saying like these filmmakers and the writers and actors are content creators when they most certainly are not. So
No, because they're putting more time, they're putting more effort into the stuff they're making than a guy making a 5 minute like short about their day.
mm-hmm.
So
Or a dude making a podcast on the internet like I am right now. So
oh
like I'm a
yeah.
content creator. I'm a
Oh yeah,
content
I'm
creator.
shameless. Yeah, I'll shamelessly call myself a content creator because because I mean like I am putting but for us the content creator, it's like we're putting out like this is our version of art. This is our version of
Mm-hmm.
getting our voices out there and having them heard. So it's content, but with like there is like something behind it
Yeah,
other
for
than
sure.
monetary benefit.
Yeah, that was quite a tangent, but I did talk a little bit about movie delays that happened. I wanted to talk like kind of about the movies that are delayed until next year. The studios, like I said, the studios are blaming the strikes, but they shouldn't at this point. If they just struck a deal with these with the guilds and with
Just
the
giving them what they
WGA,
want.
just give them what they want. You wouldn't have to delay movies like Challengers or Craven the Hunter or Poor Things, moved from September 8th to December 8th. And the one that really shocked me, like here, is Dune Part 2. As someone that didn't really care for the first Dune, I'm not really looking forward to the sequel to the most boring movie of all time. Uh,
I'm giving
sorry.
you like this. I'm really you
uh,
my guy.
but if you think about it, Dune is Warner Brothers, like that's their awards movie like this year, and for to have them push it uh to just outside of the summer box office season next year seems like they're doing such a disservice to the filmmakers like that worked on Dune Part Two, and the way they're kind of like positioning it is like obviously like, oh, blame the WGA and SAG for not agreeing to what we agreed to, when it shouldn't be we agreed to what they agreed to. But what are your thoughts on some of these delays that we've seen so far?
Um. Well, the thing is, like, September really is getting, like, the raw end of the deal, because, like, I don't know about you, but I'm not really looking forward to, like, Equalizer 3, Expendables 4, and you've also kind of not to. And you included, like, there are more delays in this. I mean, Ethan Cohen's Drive Away Dolls is been
Mm-hmm.
pushed to February. So, like, so looking at the list, it's like, yeah, you just made September less interesting, because now it's, A Haunting in Venice, which I'm looking forward to still. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very much, I'm here for Kenneth Branagh doing a French accent. I'm all for it. But sorry, but um, but yeah, you've moved poor things, and most importantly, you've screwed Dune over, because the thing about the Dune franchise, it's not like something like set in stone as a franchise yet. Like, it's not like, it could easily go, in uh I'm trying to think of a recent example. It could be as successful as, the Avenger. Like, it could be, the sequel could be very successful and finally get, like, everyone excuse me, everyone on board. Or it could be like It Chapter 2. It could be like, the Fantastic Beasts of Crimes, like Grindelwald's, like, in success wise, like box office wise, where you see a steep decline in quality and, everything. So, I feel like Dune Part 2 kind of needs to stay, in one release date. Like, it can't be jumping around.
Mm-hmm.
And especially since, like, March already is so packed. I don't know if you've already, like, looked ahead to see what March 2024 looks like. But I mean, we have a new Bong Joon-ho movie, we got a new Pixar movie, we got a lot of different stuff coming out next year, next March. So, and that was kind of the fear last Dune was, because there was so much stacked against it. And then on top of that, it had to have amazing viewership on HBO Max in order to get the sequel. So,
Mm-hmm.
so to me, looking at Dune's, you just kind of, so Dune kind of moving away, and, like, you just killed, like, its 5-week window in IMAX.
Which is now given to the Marvels. Which, say what you want to say about the Marvels, I'm not sure if that will be a great experience. I feel like if Nolan really wants to, like, hop in on that train, he should be like, hey, can you give me a couple more weeks of Oppenheimer and IMAX, like, during that time? But I don't know.
Well, the thing is too, that just got announced is, Killers of the Flower Moon will officially come out on October 20th,
Mm-hmm.
and will be in IMAX. So I'm not gonna say, like, it's gonna take all, like, 2 months of IMAX screens, Killers of the Flower Moon, but I think that's going to kind of take over, like, that spot till the Marvels or, like, the Hunger Games uh takes over. So, but I mean, we'll see how everything shapes up. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, to me, just Warner Brothers just really screwed. And if I'm Denis Villeneuve, who's had to face, like, delays upon delays for this Dune franchise, I mean, this guy's been a part of Dune now for 6 years, and his second movie's not even coming out until the next year, and he intends on making one more movie. So by the
Mm-hmm.
time this, like, Dune franchise is, like, his cycle of Dune is done, the way he plans it, with Dune Messiah being his last, he'll have been part of it for a decade. So I don't know. I just feel so. I feel a little bad for Villeneuve because like his dream project is like getting like it keeps getting shuffled, and there's always like this threat of well, if this one doesn't work, then the next one won't get funded. So it
Right.
yeah, like there's just always that threat, and so I wonder if like Villeneuve is thinking to himself like I better just leap off this train, and go work on other projects with for other studios that will actually like not fuck my movie over.
Like A24 or Neon that have agreed to the demands that the WGA and SAG-AFTRA have demanded for that the big studios. Well, that still is something that boggles my mind that two independent studios or even independent studios in general are just willing to like be like, hey, let's agree to these terms. It's not that bad. But you have billionaires that are like, no, you can't have my money. It's just it seems icky to me, really icky.
Yeah, I mean, and to like be fair to A24 and Neon, they're in a position to where like it looks good on them, but also they can't stop making movies. They can't
Right.
stop like they have too much to, and like they don't have any brands. Like they don't have like a franchise, or they don't have a DC or Marvel to where they can sell off of that.
Mm-hmm.
They have to sell off the people that they're working with. They're
Well, I'll push back a little bit on A24 as someone that sees like, well, you see it too, the
okay,
A24
yeah.
brand. Like when I'm in a theater and that A24 logo pops up, there are gasps in my audience. Like, ooh, what's this? What's this? So like A24 has done a really great job of just
Also, Craven is getting really fucked because it's being put on Labor Day weekend. Uh, it's being put on Labor Day weekend. This like a year from now, like basically. So, like, what movie is gonna like what $100 million movie is gonna open on Labor Day weekend and be like a fucking hit? What are
um
we even thinking?
yeah, I don't even know what they were thinking at this point. Like, I guess you could say like Blue Beetle, but we saw the success of Blue Beetle recently, so maybe Sony is
Success.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So all these delays are very sad. And yeah. Uh,
Well, on the upside of things, so I just saw this tweet like while we're on the show, because I'm a professional. Jason Blum posted on Twitter that because of the Taylor Swift Eras tour concert movie, they're bumping up Exorcist Believer to basically Craven's old spot. So on October 6th.
Oh, that's you know what? That's a really great segue because that's the next news topic that I have is that the Swifties are getting to go to the theater. They're getting to feel heartbreak feeling good in a place like this with the Taylor Swift Eras tour hitting theaters. Did you get your tickets yesterday when they went on pre-sale? I just have to ask you, Kale.
No, not yet. I don't know if I will go.
I don't think you'll be able to go either since you didn't get pre-sale tickets because they're sold out now. They're sold out everywhere.
Well, here's the thing.
It
IMAX in
had
Georgia.
it
IMAX in
had the
Georgia.
biggest first day pre-sales like opening than The Force Awakens and Endgame, and it's just like you were talking about like with Doom. We were talking about Doom Part 2 getting pushed till like March. I feel like Taylor Swift is going to fill that void, that emptiness, like in uh like her Eras tour, like hitting theaters because it's in IMAX as well.
Yeah, that's the funny part too. It will only have, as far as I know, a 1 week run because Killers of the Flower Moon is
Mm-hmm.
going to take over, which is interesting like because that Aries tour concert movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following week, the next movie in IMAX is a 3.5 hour movie. So yeah, y'all do the math on that one.
Right.
So but here's the thing though about the Taylor Swift concert movie. I think Taylor Swift and Christopher Nolan, they now have something in common. They're coming in to save cinema, you know, and unfortunately Taylor Swift, or unfortunately for Nolan, he was trying to do it during COVID. Um,
Right.
but no, like, I'm kind of happy about this because I don't know about you, but getting concert tickets to her, like, to anything Taylor Swift is like its own like movie production. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm
It's its
glad.
own screenplay that that should be bought and sold.
Yeah, there should be like, I don't know if you've seen Robert Zemeckis' "I Want to Hold Your Hand," but it would be in that like vein of like this zany craziness just to go, like, instead of it being the Beatles this time, it's the fucking Taylor Swift concert. So,
Well, I not to interrupt. I did not try to get any Taylor Swift tickets because I kind of despise her. I don't really like her any of her music. So, but I am happy to like see this, like you said, because not everyone can go to a concert. COVID is still kind of like going on, even though
COVID's on the rise again.
yeah. So people are probably trying to stay as safe as possible, and the fact that she's doing this actually makes me happy and should make theaters happy because they're gonna have like just a like a money horse for like 2 months. It's like they're gonna be able to pay rent for like the next like couple years because of this concert tour.
Well, here's the thing though. I think October, like, if they can get through September, which, I mean, they have like the again, they have stuff coming out in
Mm-hmm.
September. It's not like a all is lost situation, but really after September 29th, I mean, you have The Exorcist, you have Killers of the Flower Moon, which, I mean, not that you're going to get as many asses in the seats for that one because it's a 3.5 hour movie, but you're
Mm-hmm.
still going to have, the horror crowd. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is opening on, just before Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, there is stuff coming out like in October to where like like no one should be really freaking out. Like, honestly, I'm glad that Taylor Swift did it, and also she's kind of, I don't know if you've seen like Patrick Williams, like this, like his study on his video, or excuse me, I'm like misgendering all these people. I'm so sorry. I'm misgendering all the cis people today. So so like he like did a whole thing on Taylor Swift's filmography as a filmmaker and a musician, and like I think she's positioning herself too to become a filmmaker. So I think
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of like her way of being like a peace offering without like having to like be for or against the strikes, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think that she said that like all of like I don't know like what percentage, but she's going to be like supporting like the WGA and SAG like with this film, and like it's basically all the funds are going to be ethically like like taken care of like ethically, which is something I can also get behind too as well. I don't know if I'll like one. I don't think I'll ever go because I don't like Taylor Swift, and I don't think I'll ever go because all the tickets are going to be sold out. Taylor Swift basically just took one look at the Barbie domestic box office and was just like, "That was cute. Hold my beer." So I'm like,
Well, and like if you want to look at it in the positive side of things, she's looking at like her optics, and like she could really like she probably has this concert movie. She probably has been making this concert movie because you don't just like shit it out,
right.
Um, but like, so she's probably been having like the internal conversations of like selling the concert movie like independently made to like a streamer, but now it's going to be something for theaters like later this fall. So I think it could work out in her, like, it's just going to work out in everyone's favor. It's a win-win. It is surprising that it's doing as well as it is, just because concert movies kind of just like they don't they like concert movies just don't garner this amount of sales. Like this is like the, I mean, it really is like the Spider-Man No Way Home of like concert movies.
Mm-hmm.
So
And you
um
don't see them a lot. Like the last one that I remember seeing was the U2 Rattle and Rum. That was
Yeah.
like almost 15 years ago. It's kind of
I
dating me
think.
at this point, but I saw
Mhm.
that in IMAX, and which was an incredible experience. I feel like they should do it more often.
Yeah, because that's like an immersive environment, especially if you go
Hmm.
to like a real one. So,
Yeah.
um, by the way, speaking of concert movies, Jonathan Demme, or I think it's either A24 or Neon, one of them two, they're re-releasing like a 4K remaster in IMAX for Stop Making Sense.
Oh,
So yeah, so it's probably not ever gonna touch the success of Taylor Swift's concert movie, but it's fun worth mentioning because I mean Jonathan Demme was also on top of being an incredible filmmaker was also a great documentarian. So
yeah,
there you go.
yeah. I'll have to check that one out. But yeah, Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift fans, you're gonna realize heartbreak does really feel good in a place like this, like on October 13th globally. So, in U.S., Canada, and Mexico, I think that's it. So I don't think I don't.
Sorry, Europe. Sorry,
Yeah, sorry
Australia.
Europe. Sorry Europe. Just come to Canada. But yeah. Anyways, that's all of like the news topics that I have for today, and just kind of like strike content. Let's move on to our review of Ugetsu. That was a trailer from the 1953 film Ugetsu, directed by Kenji Mizoguchi, released in 1953. I'm just going to read the synopsis here from IMDb, just real quickly, or actually Letterboxd. I take that back. I'm reading a synopsis here from Letterboxd. In the 16th century, in 16th century Japan, peasants Genjuro and Tobe sell their earthenware pots to a group of soldiers in a nearby village. In defiance of the local sage's warning against seeking to profit from warfare, Genjuro's pursuit of both riches and the mysterious lady Wakasa, as well as Tobe's desire to become a samurai, run the risk of destroying both themselves and wives, Miyagi and Ohama. Kale, like we said at the beginning of this podcast, uh, it seems like whenever you're on this podcast, you always pick like the most dreary movies. Not trying to put you. I did. Okay, no, I'll just say this that I did say like,
You
hey, I need a guest for this, and you were like, yeah, I'll watch that. So it's like
you
you
no.
you you voluntarily sign up for this. I'll just say that.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this about Yukitsu. I was like, yeah, like and also like if it's in the top 250 letterbox, I'm like, it's got to be like a modern, it's got to be like you know good quality, film. So either way, so because letterbox is filled with a lot of film snobs and people, so
Film
it has
bros
film
is the
bros,
correct
yeah,
term.
film bros, and they're yeah, uh, yeah, with their Knuff shirts, so
You know, it's funny. I have a friend that didn't know what knuff was, and they seen it someone wearing it around, and they're like, "What is kno?" And I'm like,
I am
I
Knuff.
don't talk to that friend anymore.
I am Knuff.
uh,
Marley, you are more enough.
yes, we are all knuff, just like this film. It is knuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, but yeah, no, like you get to, I was very much like, I have no idea, and also I kind of like that. Like, I love like Marley is like texting me like, "Can you watch this movie?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'll watch." A movie I've never heard of, never thought I would ever see in my life. And I mean that, and I mean this in like the most, night in the greatest way possible. I love
mhm.
kind of being like airdropped into a movie. Don't know. I don't even like when I find it on a streamer. I don't even read like what the description is. I just like, okay, it's this movie. It's like 97 minutes long. Let's go. And I watch it, and in the last two times, I feel like my life has completely changed. Like I feel like I've had like a transformative experience, and then to make this even better, I saw The Master last night at the Plaza in Atlanta,
Hmm.
and believe it or not, like this movie and The Master have like like they would make it amazing. Like they would make the most amazing double feature to this.
I have not seen The Master at all. Uh,
Oh, it's
Paul Thomas
wild.
Anderson, in my opinion, is I find him kind of insufferable a little bit. So I I don't think I'm alone in that opinion, but I don't know. I'll be interested to kind of like pair this film with that just to see if your opinion lines up. But here's some little facts here on Letterboxd. It's got a 4.2 average on Letterboxd, and as of currently, I didn't look this up, so just bear with me. It is right around 100 on the top 250. But your first initial thoughts on Ugetsu, Kale?
It is really well done. I haven't done any research on this because usually when I do a podcast, even if it's not for my own show, I'll usually kind of look up like the production history and stuff. I did not do this for this show. Sorry, Marley.
No
No
worries.
offense. But so I was but like watching the movie, like I have to imagine like if this was at one point like a lost movie, like if this was a movie like where for 10-20 years like no one could find a print, because like the print for that's on HBO Max, or I keep saying HBO Max, let's
Max,
call it
Max, the one to watch for HBO. That's
yeah,
how you're supposed to say it. So
got it. Okay, well when I was
shout
watching
out to the Filmcast, they the one that coined that. So I can't take complete credit for it.
good for them. But no, like when I was watching this on Max, I'm like the print is very scratchy, it's very grainy. Like it feels like they really just scanned this print and then like did the best they, and then just put it on, I guess, Criterion or whatever. And then that's how like it ended up on Max, is because of the Criterion channel.
Mhm.
And also Max does have a great selection of like classic Japanese films. So I was just so watching this movie, it was like at first I'm like, because this movie looks so like it's so scratchy, it looks a little blown out, it looks like you could barely make out details, and then we kind of start watching the movie, uh and then you kind of like get this idea, okay, this is a morality tale. Like it just like starts out as like we meet these two grown-ups, they already have a child, there's a village chief, they're living their life, and the moment like this person gets money, it's like it's all downhill. Like it's all like everything goes to shit like really quick.
Mhm.
And so you have to like, so okay, you are like, okay, this is instantly a fantasy movie because like while people get money and all this, like it usually like you usually have like either had money at this point, like when you have a family and whatnot, but but yeah, I'm just like watching this and it keeps going and going, and it kind of reminded me a lot of Nightmare Alley from Guillermo del Toro.
Mhm.
Where it's just like a character who's just very obsessed with like breaking in, and and then realizing like like his sins of his horroring, if you will, have like they have had dire consequences, and throughout the movie, like you see like some of them anyway, like these two men, like they give into their dreams, and like how much it has destroyed like everyone, like all these people in this village that they were supposed to protect. And it's like it's incredible to watch, and it's a good morality tale. I don't know what else to say other than that. Like it's a very good morality tale about like how greed and gluttony and in hopes and dreams, especially those that are very selfish, can pollute and destroy like it can destroy lives as well as infrastructures, because set in the middle of this movie is the 16th century like Civil War, and the depiction of the Civil War is a bunch of soldiers who rape, pillage, like they basically just are animals.
Mm-hmm.
if you will. So and by animals I mean like it's the animalistic terms like that's mentioned like in the master. Like they just like are just they're only relying on their primal instincts. So it's so all to say, not to go not to steal too much of Marley's thunder, but I felt like it was a great morality tale. I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. But I was very intrigued, and the bigger plot twist of the movie for me was when the movie ended and the Max screen came up and it said like horror like classics or whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, this is a horror movie. This is
It
like a
basic
ghost tale.
it basically is a horror movie without actually being a horror movie, and that's probably one of the things that I appreciate most about it. And I don't think that that Kenji was like wanted this to be a horror movie like classified as that. So I don't know what he would think of Max for uh, putting it under that category, but unintentionally he did make like a horror movie, especially like for women that watch this, because the women in Ugetsu definitely get screwed over to
Yeah,
every
they're
like
100% at the mercy of these like men who could care less about them.
and all they want is to just live a happy, lovely family. They want like the best for like their children, but like the men here are just wanting to like they want excess. They want to like profit off of the people that are kind of like on like their the profit off of the war and stuff like that, and so like their plots. And then you have like you have is it Tobey that wanted to be like a samurai too, so you had aspirations of becoming like to joining the samurai, the people that they're fighting against. And like this movie has like it's a morality like tale, but also like um uh, it's a tale about like what we admire like in this world, and like how and the path on how we get on how we get there. And like these two like gentlemen, like they didn't admire love like the way you should like when you have a partner. uh so I thought like this film was like absolutely beautifully paced as well. Like it's a little under like 90 minutes. I think it's like right around 90 minutes. And like yeah, it was a little bit slow because it's like it's a film like in black and white. But the thing that I enjoyed most about it is like once you kind of like got to like know like these characters, I was intrigued to like find out like what they were going to do like next, and stuff like that. You really felt kind of like you really felt like you were diving into this world. And I feel like that like the filmmaking is like a huge uh, like purpose of that, where you have like these long takes of just like wide like landscapes and just kind of like experiencing like this horror and just like world along with these characters. But I really love this film. I think that this film I'm with you. I don't think I would ever rewatch like this film again. But I'm definitely glad that I saw this. And even to like have like a samurai film that doesn't have the samurai as like main focus was really like surprising and refreshing to me. It's like I think it's like you said it's like classified as horror, but it's also a samurai film. But the samurai are in the back, and like here's a presentation of like what these peasants were going through during like the 16th century Japan. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like to me, it's more about the experience of like being with these characters. It's more about and and also I mean it's a tale. It's telling a story of a fantasy story, but it's also like the characterization of everyone is so like well defined. Like it's so like once like what drives the characters is incredible. And what's interesting is so there's a scene early on in the movie where they're making pottery. They, he's like obsessively making it to make it look amazing so he can get more silver pieces. And have more clout, more money, whatever. And they're in, that like kettle thing where they're like, burning it all and heating the place up so that the glaze will,
the kiln. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's like a fucking siege going on in the neighboring village. And he's like, we have to stay to keep the fire going. Like, we have to stay. And like,
because capitalism has enslaved them. That scene kind of like struck really close to home with me, especially like living here in California recently. You have it was Hurricane Hillary that just that came through here and like wrecked shop, and you have like all these people kind of like saying like all this terrible things about flooding and stuff like that, and Californians are just like in their home recording a podcast and just like we got to go to work every single day, and it's just like it doesn't matter like what like terrifying things are like happening like outside of your bubble, like it just shows like how individualistic like humans can be, where it's like we gotta make money like somehow and stuff like that. I don't know. I thought like that scene really struck like a chord with me. Like it was really impactful just because of what we've all been going through like recently too.
Yeah, and for me, and that's like the world of it. Like, I mean, even like when COVID was happening, people were like still had to go to work. People still had to go. Like, I mean, when the solutions that were being presented to us, what the main solution was to stay home. We still have to go to work. We still have to live because we're living paycheck to paycheck. We can't, and the government's not going to bail us out. No, in the one time they could bail us out, they actually should. It's like there's it's the realization that there is no structure. Like, we're doing all this stuff in most movies when this does happen, when it's like we have to we have to keep doing the dangerous thing because we have to make money. It's usually played for laughs in movies, and especially in American movies. But here it's like it's a suspenseful scene because you're cross-cutting between what's happening in the village and like what's happening in the village is like horrifying. Because people's homes are getting burnt, men are getting kidnapped, women are getting thrown, in their house with soldiers running into the house to, I guess, like have a multiple orgy. So it's just like you're just watching. So and then you're cutting to our main character, just like, I have to finish my pottery. I have to finish. Like and everyone's like, we have to run. We have to go to the top of the hill so we can hide. And and it's just like what you just said is right. Like there's all these horrible things happening, and it's happening even now. Like there's all these horrible things happening in our world, but like because everyone is enslaved. Like no one can just leave for a month to go hide or whatever. They there's just no time for everyone just to leave and come back.
Right. It's like we all got bills to pay. We all got rent to pay, which I have to pay. Like recording is on September 1st. I got to pay today. So it's just like when I guess when you classify it as horror, like that, like the horrors of everyday life, the horrors of
it's an economic horror movie.
Yeah. But yeah. Do we have any more like final thoughts on just Ugetsu and just like your experience watching it? Like,
I will say,
can we talk about Ghost Lady actually?
Yeah, we're like underserving Ghost Lady here.
Yeah. What do you think about Ghost Lady? Because to be honest, like it took me about like almost like halfway into the movie to realize that it was she was a ghost, and after that realization, I was like, wait, is this a dream? like, is all this like a dream? Like, none of this can't be real and stuff like that. So I don't know. I feel like after like we find out that about Lady Wakasa, I feel like the pacing kind of like slows down a little bit, and I kind of it started becoming more of a slog, but then it kind of like picked itself back up.
Okay, so here's the thing. I did not realize Ghost Lady was Ghost Lady until like the priest or pastor or whatever
Mm-hmm.
like looks at him and is like, "Hey, you're being drained. You're being like drained for life. Let me, tattoo you so you can be exorcised of whatever this is."
Mm-hmm.
And like to me, what was so and so I didn't really because I mean I've seen so many movies where like rich people like they're it's just like being rich is so romanticized.
Mm-hmm.
It's so amazing. It's so great, and I was and I was kind of more concerned for like the other characters because like Miyagi and Ohama, they are just like so like at the they are they're just like they're just like they just get so fucked over by this like
There's so much pain for like I said, so much pain for the women and children of this movie. Like they got dealt the worst cards like in this movie. It's like I said, like all the women wanted in this movie were to lead like a happy life with like with their husbands, and their husbands are like, no, we want more, 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 more. And this is
yeah.
why this is the part of the podcast where I just start saying capitalism is evil. We need a free society where everyone can be happy, and just like a utopian society where everyone can be happy and frolic in the grass. Because who doesn't like frolicking?
Who doesn't? But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like, and that's to me like why I was so and that's like and that's like what I was thinking about during all this. I mean, especially when we come back to Tebey and Ohama, and they meet each other for the first time, like since they separated,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and even he's like, "Oh shit, I forgot I married somebody." Um, and they're both they have that realization, like like how you see like your ex girlfriend or ex wife at the airport, and then you just like have like a 5, 10, 15 minute like recant of like how much your lives have been shitty without each other.
Right. Or even like
Um,
or even like just like being in a relationship, and you're like, for me, like so focused on like my craft and like the podcast and like filmmaking, I can kind of like forget about like the relationships that I've formed because I'm so focused. And just like Tobey and Jinjuro, like they were so focused on becoming a samurai and focused on like their pottery. Like sometimes you just got to take a step back and like focus on the people around you and the people that love you most. Hashtag family. So had to throw that in there. But yeah, so that really rung rung a little bit too close to home for me as well. So
yeah, and also, I mean, when I was thinking about this movie, or watching it, there's this moment where uh there's this like moment where the character is like get again I keep bringing up the priest doing graffiti or not graffiti tattoo Sanskrit on our main lead, and it's like and I love that kind of moment when like everyone just like it's like he's like the spirit sees it and everyone's like, oh, no, you have to erase it,
mm-hmm.
and like it's this unveiling of like it's like being finally rid of a fever dream, or a fever that had contained dreams. And yeah, and do we even see Omaha and Tebey after they like reunited in the end? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think so. I think they just kind of gone their separate ways and stuff like that. So like their passions have kind of even broken themselves apart and stuff like that. I don't really remember quite as well either. I don't really have a note for that. So
Okay, and
yeah.
then of course, I mean the true tragedy is when he finally like wakes up, he finally gets his life together, he goes home, and his wife has been murdered by like the soldiers that the soldiers that failed. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not like she was even killed by like the right team. It was like they were killed by the wrong team. So it's like, not that it would make any difference, but I mean, so like the tragedy that he left his son orphan, and like he realizes like everything just hits him, and it's just like, wow, like this is so powerful. Like this, and I kept thinking to myself, well, like while this was happening, I kept thinking about like Temple of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Not to bring back a podcast we did together, but but I keep thinking about like how that movie is so like it's Spielberg kind of refining his like it's like him kind of like figuring out like what his purpose is after like divorce, like after he's hit fame and glory, like what makes his movies so fantastic and what makes his art so fantastic. And here it's like um what made Jinjiro's art so powerful is, or what made it so like enticing, was it was made by like love. It was made by it's made homemade. It was made by people like his family. It was made by his neighbors. It's made by like this core group of people. In the same way, like Spielberg has this core group of people. Nolan has this core group of people. Again, not to try and like equate it to filmmaking, but like again, like what you just said, like family is everything. Family is what brings it all together. So I feel like this, and I feel like that is kind of like the ultimate moral of the story is greed and capitalization is bad, and then but also like your family, the people, it's the people you either found family or actual blood family, that it's what makes it matter. It's like what makes the art matter, what the thing you make matter.
Exactly. Greed and capitalism is bad, and how those two things can tear each other apart. So, all I have to say is have all of that in moderation, never in excess. But Kale, thank you for joining me for this discussion of Ugetsu. Do you have any more final thoughts or anything to say about this movie? I gave this film a 4.5 out of 5. Like I said, I probably wouldn't like revisit this film like again, but I'm really glad I saw it.
I recommend it once. Like I would recommend people seeing it once, but then you don't have to see it ever again. Like you get the message.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll stick with the one time and then that's it. So
For sure. What was
uh
your letterbox rating? Did you rate it yet? So
no, I haven't, but I'll just give it. I would give it like 4 stars.
okay, all right, that's fair. But yeah. Anyways, hope you enjoyed like this discussion of Ugetsu. Definitely check it out. I rented it on Apple TV for $3.99, and then Kaylee, you watched it on Max, the one to watch for HBO. Uh, but yeah,
Yes.
before we get into what we're going to be talking about next week, Kale, do you want to tell the lovely lovers out there where they could find you online?
Yes, I can. You can find me on Twitter at Movie Kale. This is where you can get all the information and news about the stuff I do. And I also, much like Marley, run a film podcast. So I run, and as you can see on the, if you're watching the YouTube version, you can see that I do the Youth Critic Podcast, and that's where I review movies and TV shows. And I normally have retrospectives as well. So that's what the Youth Critic Podcast is for. And then, but the Youth Critic Podcast is on hiatus as of recording this episode to do a new series, or basically a rebooted series that I started a couple years back, but never really finished the first season. And now I'm coming back to finish it. It's From the Top, the Ultimate Filmmakers Retrospective. It is where I take a director and do a season where I recover all of their entire filmography. And this first season, we're covering Michael Mann. So, in the Thief episode is already up. Well, Marley, when does this episode drop? Do you know yet?
This episode should drop within the next couple of days.
Okay, so okay, So the Thief episode is the only one available right now, and then on Wednesday, the what is it going to be? The 6th, I think. Yeah, on Wednesday the 6th, we are going to be I'm going to be covering The Keep, and then it's going to be then Manhunter, then Last of the Mohicans, and then so on. And this will be kind of like what I do for the next 8 to 12 weeks as we kind of wait for more movies to come, more like movies to be reviewed. We will have 1 week slot where we do The Creator, and then we might do a slot for The Killers of the Flower Moon, but we really won't kind of start reviewing current movies again till about mid-November. But yeah, so just check all that out. And I'll give Marley the links to all the Spotify links to both of those shows. And then yeah. What else can I mention? Marley and I did the Road to the Fast Saga together.
Please don't mention that. Please don't mention that.
Okay, you cut that out.
Yeah, they can find it on the feed. But yeah.
All right, but
we don't. I already did one mention of family on this podcast, so
okay.
Yeah, trying to cut back a little bit on the family. So
all right.
But
yeah, go ahead.
But everyone should go check out your podcast, the Youth Critic Podcast, and then the Michael Mann retrospective podcast that you'll be doing. I'm going to be on one of those episodes talking about The Keep. So
yes,
everyone,
you're on this week. If it's coming out in a couple days, so yeah.
But yeah, so everyone should go check that out. Follow you on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. But yeah, you can follow me at Marley Loves Film pretty much everywhere with that handle: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Trying to break out into YouTube and kind of like doing more movie reviews there. Yeah, I'm calling it Twitter because I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh yeah,
you can still follow
Twitter
me there.
For me, I mean it's Brand X from Food Fight, but it's but it is, but it'll be Twitter for me and Marley and basically every generation that's had Twitter, ever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've had it for 15 years, so which really dates me.
I've had it for 10. So
yeah, but yeah, you can follow me on all the social media with the with the handle at Marley Loves Film. Follow me, and we can chat about film. You can follow this podcast on the same platforms with the handle The Real Lovers Pod, and also you can support us here on Patreon as well. Donate for $1. Movie Kale, you are a donor, so thank you for donating. But you can donate for $1 and get access to wonderful behind the scenes content, right, Kale?
Yes, absolutely. You get to see all bloopers and all the interesting stuff. So that I say we, but Marley cuts out. So yeah, check everything out. It's worth it.
Yeah,
exactly for the $1.
Yeah, exactly.
Quarters. That's not even a quarter tank of gas.
Exactly. So if just slide me that $1 over my way. And you'll continue getting this podcast. So I appreciate and thank you for anyone that donates. Let's get into what we're going to be reviewing next week here on the Real Lovers Top 250 Letterboxd series. The next movie that we're going to be reviewing is Yojimbo, the Akira Kurosawa film from 1961. I have not seen this film. It's got a 4.3 average here on Letterboxd. So I am very excited to watch this. I've seen clips and bits and pieces from like film school, but I've never actually watched this all the way through. Movie Kale, have you seen Yojimbo?
As someone who claims to be like a Kurosawa fan, I have not.
Yeah. But yeah, that's some. If you want to like hop back on and talk about Yojimbo with me, just let me know. But look forward to that podcast next week. And for the Real Lovers Podcast, my name is Marley Silverbrand.
And I am Kale Smith from the Youth Critic Podcast and from the top.
And keep loving movies.